Please rise to the pledge, being led by Trustee Bernadette.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to our June 24th, 2024 board meeting of the Village Ballston Board of Trustees, our normal ordinary second meeting for the month of June 2024. Let's go to the minutes motion. Can I get a motion that the minutes of the June 10th, 2024 meeting be approved? Trustee Blandesa, Trustee Price Bush, discussion. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Time for public comment on agenda items only. I would ask if you have anything to discuss regarding the new parking code to wait until the later public comment on that one. We generally want to find here comments related to motions that are already listed in number 6 and 7. Here 6 is empty, obviously for consent agenda purposes, but we will have plenty of time to have discussion on the parking code later on if you have any comments. So this is not your final time to have comments on parking code. Trust us there, as we will be trying to get our public hearing for the next meeting on that, discuss that more later. I see a hand on Zoom. We start there and I'll remind folks on Zoom that this is a good time to come on board with us on Zoom. Go ahead.
Mark, Liz?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, my comment is on the item where you're not accepting the bids on the repairs for Village Hall. And I am wondering what was the items that were included in that package for them to bid on. If it was just the retaining wall in the vault, which was the understanding when I was trustee, that amount seems pretty outrageous. I mean, the lower amount is almost as much as we paid for the whole police building for those two items. Or were there other items included in that package for them to estimate? That's my question. Thank you. Liz Cormos, 89 Hyde.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else in the room? Mike?
Thank you.
Make sure to turn that on. There you go.
Thank you. Good evening. Mike Iacolucci, 9 Russell Street. Just questions about a couple of the agenda items. With Village Hall, reading the consultant's report, and it appears the recommendation is to rebid in the fall. I know nothing about construction other than costs seem to go up. So I'm just curious, what's the expectation or hope come fall? And what's the plan if bids remain higher than we think they should be? And then it's just a second question about the sidewalk code. In the limitations to reimbursements, number 2, there's a numerical example, and I don't know if it's
5,000 instead of 4,000.
Okay.
Should be. Yep. Mary bought that last night, so
Right,
we'll save you that one. How's
Okay.
that?
Thank you.
Thank you. We will make that amendment. Anybody else? Seeing no hands, seeing nobody on Zoom, we are going to move on here. There is no consent agenda. There's no items for it here, so we'll go to the main motion. It's going to get a motion that the bids received for the Village Hall repairs be rejected.
I'll make the motion.
Trustee Blandesa?
Second.
Trustee Raymond, discussion. So to answer some questions here that we got during that, the pricing was for just the retaining wall and the vault. The bids were mid 400,000s and low 500,000s when we expected the numbers to be somewhere in the $200,000 or less zone. Labella is suggesting or recommending that we reject the bids, and we've already begun sort of seeking the advice of people who did not bid on the job to see if there's something spec-wise we can change in terms of making sure it's still safe, but getting the jobs done. And we already have a little bit of, I would call, promise on that horizon. They want to see the original plan sets. We're getting electronic versions of that over to them. Eventually, we'll work to see if another engineer or our current engineer wants to sort of rework those specs, rebid that at that point in time, maybe even separate the two tasks if there seem to be not something that the same person or same contractor would want to take on, and we'll head in that direction. So that's why we are in this motion trying to reject these bids and not rescheduling bidding yet, because obviously we don't know what direction to go with the bidding. In that our attorney had asked me about that today, and so I was prepared for that question. So appreciate her sort of reminding me that we are not going to rebid immediately on this. Any thoughts, discussion, questions on that? Then all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Can I get a motion that Jag Group LLC be awarded the contract for Union Fire Company number 2 sidewalk repairs at a cost of $97,600, and that the mayor be authorized to sign and execute all related documents upon review and approval of the village attorney? Trustee Fondanza?
Second.
I'll give it to Trustee Raymond here. Discussion. And here we have two bids, one the 97.6, another was around 190. So you can see the differential there was pretty large. All in favor?
Yeah, this was substantially better than the previous bids, right?
Well, one we had was in the 70s, but they had misbid and did not choose to redo the bid when we gave the opportunity with the right specs on it. So when that went away, yes, we were in the 130s, 140s in the last set when that went away. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Can I get a motion approving the proposal for UMA test units for a potential phone service switch on the village's existing copper phone lines, and authorizing the mayor to execute the attached proposal / agreement? Trustee Fondanza? Trustee Price Bush, discussion.
So how much would we save?
It would be,
Or how much are we paying now?
it depends if you're looking at the entirety of the phone service or not. We're talking thousands over the year. If we end up making the switch, we have to look at a few things though, because we have to make sure we don't have quote existing agreements with our current Ring Squared folks, or how they kind of postured us in this whole thing. But first things first, we want to make sure that these units are usable for the copper lines, because copper lines for us are generally the water stations that we have, and we have to make sure that they would be able to remain always on in case of power outage, et cetera. So we want to test those out and test the efficacy of them too, in even our office settings, see how they would work there. So that's why we are going all the way. There is a proposal to do everything, but we're not there yet. We want to see
All right,
how
so
this
this is
is.
just a test.
Yep.
And how long is the test gonna be?
I think probably about a month is what we foresee here, and then we'll try to move on to the next steps to see where we go with Ring Square.
All right, and it would be good if we could, before that second proposal, just get a
You will.
in an email or in writing somewhere, how much we're paying now and how much we'll save.
Yep.
Thank you.
One of the bugaboos we've had with Ring Squared, honestly, is that they haven't been able to provide us great detailed information and explain to us every phone line we have, where it is, et cetera. So that's been a real concern for us along the way. And then when we got to our police station, trying to get a phone service installed at 78 Thompson Street, they showed up finally at 4:30 on a Friday after multiple attempts to get them there. Thankfully, they came that day because that was the day of the move. But at the same time, I mean, it was not a great scenario for us, and we sweat that one out pretty close to the end of that day. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Can I get a motion that in lieu of providing healthcare coverage to the former village clerk Patricia Bowers, the village will pay her an annual payout of $1,200 or $100 per month? Trustee Fondanza,
Second.
Trustee Raymond, discussion.
Can you please explain?
Generally, the policy has been to follow the contracts for all personnel, which have a $200 a month buyout for the general health care provisions that we have.
That's the union contract?
Yes, so $950 a month is what we usually pay for an individual on our healthcare plans. And they would, if they opt out, get $200 a month. Here, we don't usually have a Medicare scenario where they opt out, which is in the mid $300 a month range for that plan. So what we did here is we kind of punted and worked with Patty to say, hey, it ain't worth $200, it's worth something less. So we went to the $100 approach with her, and she was willing to accept it because she could stay on our Medicare Part D plan and cost us over $350, $370, whatever it is a month right now. And instead, $100 a month is a lot better than $300+ a month in that situation. So we're kind of establishing a new policy here, an offshoot of the current policy of, the $200 for a normal plan. And that's why we're trying to make sure that we get this approved by motion in this situation.
All right, so we don't have a policy that's already set.
We have what I would call tradition and trend. So we have done this for anybody that's opted out, that's full-time of our healthcare plan. They get the $200 a month scenario payout. So
What's it called? What in trend? Tradition and trend?
that's what I call it, yeah.
Tradition and trend, okay.
So.
All right, I just want to point out that that was not the standard applied for the motion to approve paid out PTO. At that time, it was stated, I think you stated, that union contracts have nothing to do with the front office staff. I do think it makes sense to follow a tradition and trend and to see how we're treating everyone somewhat equally, but I do feel like this is a change in approach.
No, this is actually what, before my time even, this has been the way it has been done.
For front office staff?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, so this is not
Terry can probably speak to this better than anybody.
Yes, absolutely.
This is not the first time front office staff have gotten this. Yeah.
No,
But we don't have a policy yet.
we don't have a written employee manual, and Carla actually has indicated to me that there is a company out there that she works with in other matters that is somebody that we may want to be talking to get something together once and for all for an employee manual and policy scenario. So
Yeah, absolutely.
I see Ben's point. I mean, it seems like it's hit or miss. We follow union sometimes and sometimes we don't.
well, all I can tell you is if you wanted to follow union last time, you did technically. So all in favor,
I'm gonna abstain again, just till we get a.
opposed?
No, I'm not opposed.
Well,
Oh, sorry.
yeah, let me call for the vote.
Okay, sorry.
All in favor,
Aye.
opposed? Well,
Abstain.
Mark, Ben down as an abstention at this point. There you go. Moving forward here, can I get a motion approving the attached Village of Ballston spot sidewalk and curb reimbursement schedule and policies document with the change of, in the example, changing it from $4,000 to $5,000 as that example.
Make the motion.
Trustee Fandesa, trustee Price Bush, discussion.
So I reviewed the document and made some pretty extensive comments on it. I was a little disappointed that none of them were incorporated, and actually I was kind of curious why they weren't even addressed. I know there was a lot of discussion about, hey, give me your thoughts and, we'll collaborate, but it kind of was radio silence for the last 2 weeks. So I found that to be a little disappointing. I also, some of my concerns regarding this policy, there's no design guidance within this, because it is policy, it's not just a reimbursement schedule. So I think we need some sort of design guidance, at least reference. If we're going to reference DOT specs, then that should be in this document that we're going to construct according to DOT specifications and standards. There's nothing regarding ADA compliance within this either. So if I were to read this as an individual, I'd be like, well, I could put in whatever sidewalk I want. So I don't think that's really what the intent was, and I think that's why there was almost a 2-year delay about getting sidewalk code done, because those things matter. And it doesn't seem like any of that was addressed in this. The other thing I didn't see addressed was enforcement. there's a lot of locations that are not ADA compliant or are not compliant with DOT specifications and standards. And there's no system in here to address those. There's no system in here to enforce repair sidewalks. My largest fear here is that will be the extent of our sidewalk policy, and that we won't actually get enforcement. I mean, if the intent was to provide some guidance, I understand we want people to get the opportunity this season to repair their sidewalk. But a lot of it reads as, at least to me, as code. And are we at some point going to actually take this out of the reimbursement schedule and put it in code? I guess that would be my question. Because, and if so, when will we finish the code? I would love to modify this motion to put a date to not only accept this, but also to fully complete code and submit to the state within a time period, 60 days.
Okay, so what we have before us is what we are required to do because we have a code right now that states that we will be creating a schedule for reimbursement. And this is called a Village of Ballston Spa Sidewalk and Curb Reimbursement Schedule and Policies, the policies being related to reimbursement. We spelled out virtually every scenario whereby you want to go redo your sidewalk. Here's what's going to happen. It's a new build or a major renovation, then you're not going to get a reimbursement because that's going to be part of your work that you do in that property ultimately. If you're just going to go fix your sidewalk as normal or put in a new sidewalk where there isn't one, then you get up to the $4,000. And if you're trying to replace your sidewalk multiple times in a short period of time, here's how we're going to handle it. So we're trying to be comprehensive for all the possible things that could come at us in a reimbursement scenario. This has nothing to do with the changes of the other aspects of the code. This is what we're tasked to do because we changed the law for reimbursements to put it into a schedule. And the policies, again, are referring to reimbursement generally so that people understand every possible permutation of the things that could happen and how we're going to make sure that they get paid equitably in these situations or covered equitably, with the general idea of we would like to see sidewalks in a compliance standard. And that's why there's mention of, I take issue with you suggesting that there's no maintaining or looking for a certain standard of work, because first things first, Jeff's going to have to approve based on the current code that exists, which does put levels of standards on people. We got to improve those, no doubt, and we're working on doing that. But this is step one because, again, people would like to replace their sidewalks this summer and would like to get the reimbursement they feel they're due.
I understand that, but there are no construction design guidance. Or there is, but it's antiquated and it certainly doesn't.
Right, it's in code.
In the code.
Right, we can't policy away that because it's in code. And so we will get to that. But we are using a policy for only what we can use policy for right now, which is for reimbursement policies.
So what we're doing is we're saying you can use the old code, which is, I don't think it's sufficient. And certainly if we want to get some sort of lifespan, we're spending, not only are we spending village taxpayer money to help out a particular property owner sidewalk, they're also putting down quite a bit of money too, with a 50% reimbursement. I would hope we get, a good lifespan out of that sidewalk. And without updated design standards, I don't see how that's going to happen. So I'm just curious as to why we wouldn't just include in this document that sidewalks to be constructed according to DOT standards and specifications. I mean, we discussed that.
Because the code has a specific standard specification currently that is in code. And so you can't policy away a code item. That's the problem. So we actually have to change that code. And we will.
I think we all want it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think,
Well, can we set a deadline, like a hard deadline? Because the can's been kicked for a while now. And it sounds like this summer we'll get sidewalks that will be built according to an archaic design standard. That may not
Well, you know what, just Sean,
be sufficient.
take the notes from the last meeting and propose changes. I mean, some of the problem is that we've got a lot of things going on right now. We're trying to get as much of this done as we can in a short period of time. I mean,
I
by all
understand.
means, please.
The sidewalk code is about 80% done in February.
Now you
I
can
know
make-
Ben and
you can make some
myself worked
changes.
on it pretty heavily. It was just the reimbursement schedule.
Well,
that's gonna be an issue.
Then we'll look forward to it in the next couple of months from you, and in the meantime, if there's anything you
Well, I
want to
would
bounce off of us,
like, as part of this motion, to set a deadline that we are going to complete the code.
do you accept that change or amendment?
What's a reasonable timeframe?
I was thinking 60 days
I'm asking Carla, actually, because there's a process we have to go through, right?
to submit to the state, not to have it become actual law.
What, I'm sorry.
Submit, he's saying when we approve a code, a local law, it has to get submitted to the state, to the Secretary of State for acceptance. That's what he's referring to by the state aspect of it. Okay, she was asking you a question about,
Once you have a actual code ready to go, you can set your public hearing for 2 weeks and get it done then, but you have to have the code set, and I have no idea how long it will take you to put together the code.
You want to say 90 days is a more reasonable timeline? That seems like a lot of time since it was pretty much mostly complete.
Now, I'm a little afraid that we will not be able to make that, because we all sometimes have a hard time with that. How about we make a good faith effort? You and I, why don't we work
Well,
on
why
it?
don't we just set it, and if we need an extension, we can give ourselves an extension.
do you accept the amendment?
That's fine.
Which is what?
That we, well, no, I don't. Let's just move on. Either vote for this, we can work on it. You can laugh all you want. I'm sorry. I'm
This
not-
can's been kicked a long time.
It was
Sounds like it's
kicked
gonna
because
get
you
kicked a
guys
lot
insist
more,
on
isn't
a
it?
mechanism that many people didn't agree with. So I think we're close. Write down what your specific concerns are. I will do it as well, and I think all of us will. How about everybody give a good,
I guess
I'm not
if-
done talking.
Okay, sorry.
Everybody give it a good faith effort. Let's vote on this. There's people that are waiting on some help here. So no, I don't accept it at this point, and let's just move forward.
If we're close, by your own words, if we're close, then 90 days should be more than sufficient time.
Bernadette's asking for the question to be called, any
Well,
last,
yeah, I'd like-
any last
Sure.
discussion that has not been made so far? Let me just finish
Right.
my sentence and then go ahead.
yeah, thank you for
Yeah, go.
the opportunity.
You got
I do feel sort of like we're doing an end run around the code, that it's not necessarily the proper procedure to put code, really language that is code in a policy. You know, when you do a law, you have a public hearing, there's a whole process that should be followed. I know I sent forward suggestions for changes to the current code back in February, and I was told we'd handle it later, and it is later at this point. And it shouldn't take that long to do the code itself. And I think that it would be the proper way back when we were, when Liz was on the board, we talked about, okay, let's just change the schedule to increase reimbursement, which we all wanted to do. And we were told that, or advised at the time, no, you need to change the code first before the schedule
We did
is
that.
changed. And but we have additional changes. The code is not set, is not settled. There was a few changes made, but not. So for example, one of the things you mentioned, Frank, was we needed to change the code in order to accept grants. And
We looked at that.
so apparently we can do it with a policy. We don't need a code.
Because in general, in law, you could accept them, so we're just making
Right.
it clear in
Yeah,
the policy.
according to Nikon, we didn't need to do anything. We
That-
could always
Right,
accept-
we
So-
looked at it, as I said, so we
Right.
did due diligence afterward.
So
to make sure.
I guess the bottom line for me is the proper way, I think, of doing this is for us to let's just have a schedule that looks like a schedule that changes the numbers and put the other wording that is really code. Let's just work on the code itself rather than make the schedule a kind of code. And there was one specific word piece that I did think was ambiguous in here, if we're gonna be passing this. Let's see, it says, in cases when the superintendent does not feel replacement required, village, this property owner will be eligible for 2.5% reimbursement for that portion of sidewalk replacement per full year since the prior installation repair replacement occurred. And it just, to me, a lot of homeowners aren't gonna know when that was. They, you know,
This is why we're gonna be maintaining records from here on out. And Jeff and I already discussed that, but that's gonna become the norm now. Every time we do a sidewalk reimbursement, we're going to digital photo it and get records to
So-
indicate it.
Right, yeah, my suggestion was to modify this to 2.5% per year since a village reimbursement. And that would be in alignment with your approach that you're just mentioning now.
Okay, so you would like to change, let me just see if I can.
Since last village
Okay, in
reimbursement.
cases when the superintendent does not feel replacements required by the village code, property owner will be eligible for a 2.5% reimbursement for that portion of sidewalk / curb replaced per full year since the last reimbursement from a prior installation, repair, replacement occurring.
Yeah, sure.
Do you accept that amendment? And who had the second on that one? Okay, so there you go on that.
Okay, thank you. And then just for the record, I still think it would be a better system for the village to take over sidewalk and curbs and always open to having that conversation. I think it's more cost effective for people and for the village. And I have not seen evidence of a big change in insurance rates from those municipalities that do it that way. So just like to say that. Okay, thank you.
Roll call?
Trustee Baskin?
Yes.
Trustee Von Denza?
Yes.
Trustee Price Bush?
Yes.
Trustee Raymond?
No.
Mayor Rossi?
Yes, 4-1, the policies approved.
And we
It's
did,
scheduled.
sorry, we did put in there that we're having this time frame for to create the law.
No.
Oh, we did not do
That
that.
was not accepted. Having a motion approving the text and design of the attached Hope for Children banner sample for placement in Kelly Park and Wiswell Park near the wooden children displays. Trustee Fandesa, trustee Price Bush, discussion. All in favor?
Yeah,
Okay.
sorry. I didn't want to just jump, but just wondering how this motion is consistent with the approach of the last motion.
It's this is a messaging question, so it's got, advertising or not advertising, but donors on there, and it's got actual words on it. So out of respect, I felt the need to go to the board with this one, and so that's my
Okay,
discretion on that one to come. And I've said all along when it came to this one that it would be going to the board. So
all right, thanks for the explanation. Wondering we probably do want a time frame on this to say it coincides with the display or for the summer or,
well, it wouldn't be near the wooden children displays if the wooden children displays aren't there any longer.
well, okay, so that's the assumption. And when the children's displays are going to be there for what, through August? Is that,
I believe that was the intent.
we never voted on that, but that's,
The end of the summer, I think was quote unquote.
In
what it was.
Wiswell, yes.
In Wiswell, yeah.
and what about Kelly Park? That's different?
I think end of summer still was the goal, or what's,
They're attached and they're polyurethane, so they're gonna stay up.
So is Kelly Park, the time period for Kelly Park the same as for Wiswall through the end of August?
I just said no.
So what's the time frame for Kelly Park?
They're-
Oh, they're gonna stay up permanently?
They're poly and they're attached to the playground.
I would say that requires a vote of permanent installation in the park. That was never discussed previously to this, and no one, certainly not my understanding. So that I think is
currently
completely
we have this motion.
inappropriate.
Yeah, well, currently we have this motion in front of us for the banners. So if there's no other discussion on the banners themselves, all in favor? Opposed?
Well, wait a second, sorry. Is there gonna be a sign at Kelly Park forever? Like there is Is that the idea of Kelly, a sign at Kelly Park forever?
No.
So
Probably-
what is the time frame for a sign at Kelly Park? What?
Probably in the summer.
I
she
didn't
said.
realize there was a question and answer session that was gonna happen.
Well, Frank doesn't know, so he has to ask you.
How about they come down when the Kelly Park one comes down?
You mean it was all.
That's, well, sorry, geez, now we're all. Signs will come down at
That's
the same
fine with
time.
me.
Yeah, we'll have the signs come down at the same time.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Make a motion setting public hearing related to the proposed local law number 3 of 2024 parking code for Monday, July 8th, 2024 at 7:01 PM during the Village of Ballston Spa Board of Trustees regular meeting.
I'll make the motion.
Trustee Fandesa,
Second.
trustee Price Bush, I think just, I got you out there on this one. It was a horse race, so let me tell you. Discussion. Obviously, we didn't do tonight's because we still were kind of tinkering with a couple things there, so would not have been appropriate to notice it. We have already gotten some comments on Facebook, email, et cetera. I'll start circulating those related to this, but we'll get to that. We'll get to
You got comments based on the attachment that was shared?
I basically put a clean copy accepting all on that because that got confusing, I thought, to people. And posted up on Facebook as a PDF connected to it. So we've been getting some interesting feedback today on different aspects of it. I think one thing I do want to say in general, if I can, for every second, is that currently we don't have the ability to give tickets. That's what this is all about. And a lot of people think we're trying to change policy generally about what the assumption of tickets would be. Like engine idling, wouldn't be something normally acceptable. Well, we can't hand out tickets for engine idling currently in the way you would assume. And so that's kind of take a step back and realize that when you read this, and then when you kind of dive into it, understand we're not trying to create all these new problems for people parking in the village. We're just trying to actually get rules and regulations so people aren't staying in spots so longer than 2 hours when there are 2-hour spots or something along those lines. So that's kind of the perspective you have to take when you look at this and read through it.
Right, yeah, my comments that I gave last week are not in here.
When did you give them?
Well, I've given them twice. I gave them once, it wasn't part of the attachment, just in an email to you.
Yeah, those I did incorporate. into
Yeah,
that.
except there's one
And
typo
we
where
even
it's
did the
down
food truck, I
below.
didn't realize until
I
today.
did the food.
I
truck,
missed
yeah.
that, actually, that was my bad.
There is a place where I think we agreed that it would be okay for a car to move from one parking lot to another parking lot without penalty.
I thought that was.
And it was,
Yeah,
it
I
was-
said it too.
right, it was, so it's just a typo. It was done in the second instance, it was mentioned, but not in
Where?
the first.
Where are you?
Well, we can't read section.
Where's the
number.
movement? As a chapter. Where it talks about moving cars?
Hold on, maybe I can go to the PDF version and do a quick search on it that way. Parking lot, you're saying, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, restriction.
To remove or cause to be removed, the motor vehicle
Yeah.
from one village parking space in a village parking fields or lot to another village parking space in the same or another village parking field or lot regardless of the distance between parking spaces. I think that might be where you're
What
looking at.
section is that?
Well,
Nothing's numbered.
yeah, this is where it's number 3 before C. You go to C.
Right.
Presumption.
And so there's two number threes, and the
Well,
second number
Hold on one
three.
second, let's.
Let me explain why the numbering, because we don't know where, I did not know where you wanted these. So it's 192 blank until you all tell me, I want this one to go first and this one to go second.
Yeah, no.
That's why it's like.
No, it's just a typo. It's like, there's two number threes where it's refers basically
It's
the
right
same
before
language.
Article 2.
And the second number 3, it is crossed out, but in the first number 3, it isn't. And I'm sorry, I can't find it immediately.
Hold on, we're working on getting to Article 2. Before Article 2, actually, right at the end of Article 1.
Where is it?
Hold on, go. Keep
To
going.
remove or cause to remove the motor vehicle from one village parking space and to place it in a legal parking space within the same block of the
Right.
street.
So if you look in B, if you look in B,
hang on, I'm finding 3.
yeah,
I think that's where it's.
obstruction, yes, obstruction of enforcement of parking limitations prohibited, and then it's B3.
It's
I think
declared to be a violation if you do that, is what the preamble was.
Yeah,
So, okay,
So
instead of doing this in real time.
right. So, so I
We
just,
have a week
Well,
before we have to publish
but
this.
I did find it, I can tell you exactly, 192, obstruction of enforcement of parking limitations prohibited.
Game 7 tonight, right?
It's B3. And it is what should be crossed out, but isn't, is the,
Regardless of the distance.
or another village parking field or lot, or another.
Okay.
So it is crossed out in C3, but not in
Okay.
B3.
I got you.
The, thank you. The other issue that I had that I sent last week is the penalties are very extreme.
Yeah, Chief Bush and I talked about it today, actually, and he says he's ambivalent on this a little bit because never in his time have they actually been utilized, but they're more or less as a deterrent for the worst case scenarios of frequent violations to actually have some teeth to it.
Yeah.
So that's,
Okay, it sounds antiquated, like maybe 150, 200 years ago, people get thrown in jail for whatever, but for a parking fine to be thrown in jail potentially for 15 days.
Well,
so-
that's what the state law is. It's a
Mhm.
fine plus no more than 15 days in jail. And
All
I have
right.
never actually in 20 years had anybody thrown in jail for. a
Right,
parking
so maybe we should, we don't have to follow the state
welcome to
law.
Ballston Spa.
I would actually encourage you to keep that in there because it does act as a deterrent.
It's a huge deterrent, well,
Yeah,
I think
that's the point.
well, I don't, it's only a deterrent if people know, and how many people are reading this law prior to parking somewhere?
Well, when you go to
The
court,
interest of the law.
It's also only a deterrent if the people have money. For economically disadvantaged folks, it means jail time.
No,
I mean-
that's not true at all.
It could.
I no,
but-
no, and I put that in there, John. I put that in there, that it does not, it's not for economically disadvantaged, because it's not money or jail. Like, if you can't pay money, you're going to jail. It just gives the judge the opportunity to do one or the other.
Or
They
both.
don't- Or both, correct. It's not to punish the economically disadvantaged, like, oh, haha, you can't pay, so you're going to jail. That's not at all what it's supposed to be.
So it's up to the judge's discretion.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Somebody blocking an intersection with a parked car because they're trying to block a police car or something like that. That might be something that would be deemed so offensive that could lead to jail. Period.
It just, it says, any provision of this, so except for violation of Article 2 above, so I'm not sure what that is, every person convicted of an offense against any provision of this chapter, which is not an offense against any provision of the vehicle and traffic law of the state of New York. Anyway, so to me, it does make sense. Some violations are more serious, and maybe then jail time might be warranted, but a number of these are not warrant, you know, when you talk about jail time, you're taking parents away from their kids, potentially losing your job. And the first one is not more than 15 days. The second one is not more than 45 days. And the third one is not more than 90 days. That's a lot of time. And I just don't think that most of these offenses warrant that time length in jail or any time in jail. And if we don't think it warrants time in jail, then we shouldn't have it in the law. That's just my opinion.
Okay, so this motion is to set the public hearing. All in favor?
All right.
Opposed? Motion carries. Mayor's announcements
Public hearing is for July 8th.
for July 8th. I'm sorry.
At
Yeah. Did I name it? A motion setting public hearing related to proposed local law number 3, 2024 parking code for Monday, July 8th, 2024 at 7:01 p.m. during the Village of Ballston Spa Board of Trustees regular meeting. I think I read that. Okay, just making sure.
Sorry, I was looking at a bunch of
It's possibly, yeah.
changes.
Mayor's announcements. CDTA has had a lot of turnover, and they reached out to me a few weeks ago. And at least got some good music out of it.
My thumb did it.
Next time we're gonna get up and dance. I'm warning you right now, it's not gonna be pretty. anyway, CDTSL turnover a few weeks ago, they reached out to me wanting to show their plans for the bus shelters. Remember those from long ago? Well, they're still working on them, but they had probably not gotten the full memo on some of the things we had talked about back when, for instance, they were still trying to put a crosswalk by the blind curve to the south of Doubleday Woods Drive. And I was like, guys, we've been there, done that. We're putting one on to the south of that, away from the blind curve. I would suggest McMaster Street is probably the zone for the crosswalk if you want to do another one. And they're looking at that. They appreciated that. We talked to them a little bit more about the reshop zone, the village lot that's over there, and maybe working with them to restrike that lot with us to maybe slightly narrow the spaces, because we'll lose a couple probably by back ending the bus shelter that's supposed to go in there. So they're putting together some minor changes. I told them either we'll circulate around to us and send any comments by email, or do a full-on presentation if there's enough interest to do it at that point. So give it a couple of weeks and we will see that very soon. But good to know that they are working on it. As I said, they've had a lot of turnover. I think this is the third person or group of people that have worked on it in the last year or so.
So the next step might be a presentation back to us.
Well, like I said, yeah, we'll see if there's any need, because like we've technically already had that discussion. The stuff that's there isn't really moving anywhere, except we're putting the crosswalk back to where it was supposed to go based on our earlier discussion.
They know not to do the smallest bus stop, right? They're doing.
We didn't get to that. I would assume, based on what I saw, that they are pretty sizable, all things considered.
Forget it, like 10 meters.
Yeah, so, and again, there would be one near the bench at Doubleday Woods stop going northbound, and also northbound, the one that used to be a multi-ad that's going to the reshop parking lot area over there. And that's due to ridership being so much more plentiful going northbound in the first place, or waiting.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's great. You know, as far as crosswalks, sorry to interrupt, but do you have any update on the crosswalk?
No, we've had a boatload of problems with DOT. Sorry, Sean, I always do this. But we've had a boatload of problems getting reactions from them. And so I will press again on that. I actually, when I was dealing with this late last week, I thought the same thing. So I want to get through tonight. I'm going to be reaching back out to LaBelle to see what the hell happened here, because it's now at that point ridiculous. And we've tried calling every contact we've got in this whole thing.
So there's a new person in charge of that type of.
I can't imagine.
Kelly Kircher
Okay.
is her name.
If you want to send her number, is it she?
Send it your way.
Yeah, please do. Because that's another bouncing around scenario. I think it's been happening there. And, you know, I think I've reached out to Guy Tedesco at one point to ask him to push that. And I didn't get much out of that scenario either. He did work with us on the Union apron, because they were trying to keep us at grade, or to change grade of it to be more ADA compliant, except for the fact their road isn't ADA compliant. We're keeping grade to the road grade. And he realized that he saw it for himself and said, you're okay with the grade you're using in that situation.
I'll tell Kelly to contact him, who replaced Guy, the permanent engineer.
Okay.
Wyatt, I'll get you his contact.
Okay. Also, I may have noticed a couple things. City of Thompson, that does have their occupants now. The police department did move a couple Fridays ago. They're still ironing out some of the issues in there tech-wise. We did have a few phone lines installed, thankfully, on that Friday, but just making sure other computer systems and whatnot work. We are aiming for mid-July grand opening / open house day, probably on a weekend. We will firm up that date very soon, so look for more information on that. We just want to make sure that they have everything kind of in place, ready for that as well. And Kelly Park, you might notice some fencing finally going up there for football and basketball. What's closest to the parking lot area is where the 3 pickleball courts will be going, and the backside of it will be full court basketball. So getting excited about that. We've been getting a lot of complaints about some of the activities going on in the pavilion area, especially. Let's say that there are some folks that are staying there well past dusk. And there's been some concerns. Jason Townley sent me something today because his daughter's group, the Girl Scouts group, was in there for their event, and they had to sweep out a bunch of cigarette butts and whatnot, and obviously a no parking or no smoking situation. And so I already had talked to Dave Bush about this today. We've been talking to the police ongoing the last couple of weeks to enforce the dawn till dusk rules in Kelly Park universally. So we're not trying to treat anybody specially on this in one way or another. We are trying to enforce the actual rule of dawn to dusk, especially as the days will get shorter from here on out this year. And then as Ben knows, he's got the signs coming for no smoking, but we're also going to try to get our policy signs generally out there for our park code that we had approved earlier this year and begin to enforce it, because no smoking means no smoking. I saw somebody in Wiswell Park today doing it in the rainstorm. I saw what was a very ugly picture from Jason Townley's email today with cigarette butts that they cleaned up, and thank you to them for doing that for us. But enough's enough. And so we are working on that. And one of the hopes is that by having a little bit more activity, traffic throughout the day with pickleball, basketball, and Kelly Park, we will sort of create more visibility generally there, and people not doing the wrong things, hopefully, when there are more eyes open on that area. So let's cross our fingers that that's the case ultimately.
Did we get security cameras?
We do. We do.
Are they motion detection?
I don't know their motion detection. I know they're pretty good HD wise, so we can identify the worst fit, but they're not obviously pointed in every direction. And we had a women's room, restroom issue on the doorway area. We don't have a camera trained on that for obvious reasons. So stuff like that, you're not going to catch very easily. So we're working on it. I just wanted folks to know, though, that we are working on it, and we're going to attack this from multiple different directions to make sure that Kelly Park remains a safe and clean park moving forward here. That's all for me. Let me go to Treasurer's report here. I was on it earlier, and then it's an interesting point here I'm going to make to folks right off the bat. In the Treasurer's report, June sales tax receipts, which is not for June itself, so that is not based on the Belmont, just for those wondering. There's a delay in these. We're basically up 3.12% for the county, and pretty good year to date for those so far. They're up about 3% overall, but the amount the village received the sales tax on June 20th was down about 2%, it looks like. And here's what's happening for those that are wondering, Mike. I know you look these figures pretty carefully, so here we go. The countywide numbers, obviously, are the countywide numbers. There's a couple things that happen. Saratoga Springs keeps 50% of their take. So if the increase was in Saratoga Springs itself, then there's less increase going on in the first place for the rest of the county, including us. The second thing that happens is assessment growth throughout the county. We don't have much assessment growth compared to other towns and villages throughout the county, especially the towns around us, because Saratoga County's got good growth, but we only have a limited amount of growth we can do here in the village. So since this is based on an assessment ratio, ultimately the receipts we get, or the portion of it, by kind of flatlining on our assessment growth and everybody else is going up, they'll get more of the pie, and we kind of just languish in that situation. This is why it's important to try to get this the old infirmary situation, Angelica, eventually Rick gets back online, because there would be assessment growth most likely from good uses of those properties eventually. So I just wanted to flag that, because this is a trend I watch, and this is probably the best example of it showing through that I've seen the last couple of years, was these numbers for the last month of receipt that we got there. So something we're aware of. Still, the numbers are strong, because you remember last year was a strong year generally, and that's our first month of the fiscal year being reflected there for us. So, it's down 2%, but that does not include what we know to be probably a pretty strong Belmont season, or Belmont week, that will feed into the real June numbers in a few months. Property tax payments have been posted to customer accounts thus far in the amount of $495,491. Been hard work trying to keep up with posting to accounts. Remember that any payments not received by July 1st will have a penalty applied on July 2nd. Water and sewer, the meter readings for water have been coming into the village office as well this month. Just a reminder that all meter cards must be returned by June 30th to avoid a non-read meter fee of $50. Water bills will be mailed out by August 1st. Year-end fiscal year 2024, we're working with LGSS on closing out the fiscal year 2024. Have to wait until most of the invoices have been submitted and paid for June. Once those are in, we'll be submitting budget transfers where needed. Pool operations this season, we're planning on implementing a cashless system to handle our pool membership fees at the village pool, and that went pretty well. From what I understand, they came up with a good system for that to work, especially during swimming lessons. So great work by Kate Garis and her staff of lifeguards up there. Swim lessons sign up has gone well overall. Saturday, June 15th, and a few other days since that point. If you're interested in signing up for swim lessons at this point, please visit the village pool, speak to Kate to see if there are any openings. You can do that all the way up to about July 1st. So you still have about a week to get swimming lessons if you have not done so already. That's all I've got from treasurer's report, excuse me. Let's go to liaison reports. We'll start with Sean.
Well, I reached out to, yeah, but I haven't heard back, so I really don't have anything to report. Unless you're aware of some things.
Well, I know they've had finished up what they could with the police station the last couple of weeks, so they've begun focusing on getting Kelly Park stuff done and some stuff in Wisball Park as well. Jen, do you have any other thoughts on what they've been doing?
I know we have a new picnic table in Wiswall, and, but thank you. And a new bench in Wiswall, and they're moving to put in the new benches that were not going in Victory are now going over to Kelly. So I know that that's something we've been working on.
So we are in one of those situations where we kind of put them into a position with 78 Thompson Street renovations, and now they're kind of playing catch up with everything else that they would normally do in the summertime here. Obviously, they're going to be planning for paving coming up in October. So still working on that now. We know what our CHIPS funding is, which is a flat line compared to last year. You know, we're working all that. I know that they were surveying which streets to do and cost estimating with evolution on that stuff. So we will keep you updated when we know which streets will be paved this year. If nothing else, Mary.
There's going to be the Kelly Park playground repair, which we've been talking about. It's going to be happening this Saturday, weather permitting, from 8 a.m. until 3 p.m. To spruce up the Creekside playground and make much needed repairs. So if anyone is interested in volunteering, much help can be accepted. And Anna looks like she might have some flowers if someone wants to take one as a reminder. The library, the Friends of the Library had a very successful trivia night on June 12th. And there were about 40 people who attended, and prizes went out to the winner of each round, and snacks, and it was a great time. People had fun.
Did you win?
No.
I
did come in last though.
Yeah, okay, that's good.
That was going towards their capital campaign. Paul Mays has also proposed a timeline for the renovations, and soon there's going to be a review. Hopefully construction will start as early as October 1st. And the Ballston area seniors, Mike and Androdakis, I would say he accepted the nomination of vice president, so there is a position open for director. So if anyone who belongs to the senior group, send in a letter of intent, and good luck.
That's great. Very good.
So VSBPA, we partner with them very closely and make sure our community or businesses are doing well. First to report, the farmers market has started. It started Saturday, last Saturday. Yeah, it's already been 2 Saturdays. Wow. Time goes by very quickly. Anyway, it's the market first day was really well attended, really great. And, you know, I just want to encourage people to go out, get to know the farmers, the folks that are there, and also you'll probably see a lot of community members there. So the markets are Thursday, 4 to 7 p.m., then Saturday, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. And the concerts and parks that they work on, the first one will be coming up this Thursday, right? Yes, this Thursday, 6 to 8 p.m. At the Iron Spring Park. It will be the community band. Are you playing, Ben, in that one?
Nope.
Oh, okay. And then the next movie in the park, I know I mentioned it last time, will be first Friday, July 5th. It is Barbie. I encourage people to dress up and have fun. I hope Frank will dress up as well. I will be in pink. And he's already pink. Anyway, it's going to be a good time. They've been working to get some activities for children. Some of the vendors, I know that Kona Ice and Lido's East African Cuisine will be there, among other groups. Movie starts at dusk, and their next networking breakfast is Oxford Property Group, 108 Milton Ave on July 9th, 8 to 9:30 a.m.
One thing I would promote is for concerts in the park. Before you go to the concert, stop at the farmer's market because there's usually some good food vendors, Kona Ice and stuff like that. So get your food there, walk it down the street, go to the concert in the park and enjoy it there to the degree that, you know, if the Iron Spring is open, obviously you can get food and drink there as well, but you've got options. And so utilize those options because there's some great offerings at the Thursday Ballston Spa Farmers Market. Ben.
All right, just to build a little bit off of some of these events, the Committee on the Arts, they're doing everyday sketching and watercolor and ink class on June 29th, July 6th, and July 13th. And go to their Facebook page for details on that. There's a $60 fee for supplies and instruction from 12 to 3 p.m. at the library, and pre-registration is required. Supplies provided by the instructor. They are going to do some activity TBD for the Barbie show. They don't know what exactly. They're also doing something called a plein air day.
Plein air.
Plein air. Day 7/28. Again on the Facebook. It's basically you just show up and paint. It's free. It's one Sunday gathering, 10 to 1. No registration required, all skill levels welcome, no instruction will be given, and no supplies provided. So basically you bring your supplies and a comfortable seat and your favorite sun hat, is what they're saying.
It's super relaxing. I encourage people to go be barefoot on the grass and just paint and draw.
There's also Sounds in Summer coming up again, as it has in past years, and it's always been a wonderful concert. That's July 28th at 6 p.m. at Brookside Museum. It's a musical group TBD, but likely jazz. Movies in Wiswall, they are doing, this is on August 2nd. It's Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, and they'll be, the Committee on the Arts will be doing a tie-dye event. And then the next day at Farmers Market, they're also, on August 3rd, they're also going to do a tie-dye event. They're also planning a family fun day booth. They'll do bookmark decorating. And then finally, there's a Sounds in Summer concert on August 25th at 6 p.m. at Brookside Museum. Also group TBD, but likely jazz, is what they say here. Their next meeting is Monday, July 1st at 7 p.m. at the library. They were going to be the 3rd, but they're moving it because of July 4th. So I encourage everyone to attend. So that's the Committee on the Arts. They are busy. The Park and Tree Board is eager to receive more feedback about the Wiswall Park Master Plan. So far, they have well over 100 responses, and the feedback has been very informative and useful. If you haven't taken the survey, please head over to Wiswall and use the QR code or find a link on Facebook. As of right now, the survey is planned to be closed by June 28th. So the more people who provide feedback, the better.
We might go to the 30th. I replace the map and the papers that are kind of falling down there because the weather. Over the next hopefully day to 2 days, we'll give people that to one more farmers market time to snap the QR code out there, et cetera. So we'll probably go just a couple extra days on that.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we could sort of beat the dead horse of the parking code when we talked about the public hearing. So we'll allow folks to public comment on that to the degree they want to, since there is no new business listed. So public comment on any issue for 3 minutes. Again, if you're on Zoom, this would be the perfect time to raise your hand. I see a hand there from a lovely stranger I haven't seen in quite some time. Come on up, Mayor.
Mary Kavanaugh, 20 Crestline Drive, Ballston Spa. This has been a very difficult decision for me. After 30 years of working in the village on the flags that hang in our village on all these poles, I have taken care of them. They come down, I sort them, whether they can be used again or not. I take them to the cleaner, they're cleaned. I put them back on the pole. Jen has worked with me for the last couple of years in ordering flags and poles that we needed. At this point in time, arthritis has taken over my hands and I can't do it anymore. And I will work with whomever you can find to do the flags. I mean, we stored them in our garage and I've taken care of them all this time. It's time for somebody else to take over. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you, Mary. Those flags are something that you kind of just assume are going to show up every year, and it's because of her work every year. Bob, her husband, obviously, who works with us closely, takes it to heart as well to make sure that everything goes right for our flags. And so thanks to both of them for not just their patriotism, but their love of the community enough to do that every year. Thank you. Anybody else? I see Anna.
Hi, Anna Stanko, 32 Kent Street. Yes, park and cleanup day. Everybody, we'd love to have you there. I would like to thank you, Mayor. I have probably been one of the ones that has been complaining the most about the park.
Not the only one though.
Okay.
Yeah.
They live there. Let's just get it out there. There are people that are living in the park, in Kelly Park. I'm pretty sure if they were living in Wiswall Park, they would not be allowed to. They are living there. They are using the fields for bathroom. All their bathroom needs are behind the building in the park. They are drinking there regularly. You said there's no smoking in the park. They drink there all day and all night. They have now figured out how they can turn off the lights under the pavilion because the lights draw the mosquitoes and the mosquitoes are bothering them. It is a disaster. Carm Isabella goes down there. He is supposed to be closing the bathrooms and cleaning them 99 days out of the 99. They aren't even open. DPW does not even open them in the daytime. He is going to do the cooking for us, and he's actually offered, they're going to go down and pressure wash the concrete first because it is so gross and we do not know what is on the concrete. There are wet spots all around the picnic tables where they are sleeping. So thank you for taking care of it. I understand the police cannot be there 24/7, but it's not okay. All right, it's not one of them, it's 2, 3, 4 of them. There's one family that's there all day long, all night long, but there are people that are sleeping there. Drive by on your way home. They're on the back bench, they carry their bag of booze by my house every day, 3 or 4 times, and go over to the park and sit and drink. And then they're just congregating there. It is not a nice, safe place for families and children. So thank you for listening to me complain. Last night I even texted them, enough is enough. They're over there all drunk again. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Let's go to Liz on Zoom.
Sorry, I'm over here making notes.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yes.
Liz Cormos, 89 Hyde. I'd like to read you section 174-1, construction and repair of sidewalks, the first sentence. Sidewalks not less than 4 feet in width and of cement, slate, brick, bluestone, or similar substance shall be constructed on both sides of the street in said village. So, given that that's still in effect, I agree with Sean. You put the cart before the horse by increasing the reimbursement, because someone living on, let's say, Hyde Boulevard, where the sidewalks are 5 feet in width, can put in a sidewalk that's 4 feet of width and receive reimbursement. Or maybe they'll do one of slate or bluestone, which is generally not handicapped accessible and meets ADA standards. Or maybe they'll have the cement, only poured, a few inches and not do the proper base. So there is nothing in current code, as Sean has said, that, addresses those issues. And you're going to have no choice but to reimburse those people if they build sidewalks like that, because you just adopted that reimbursement. Thank you.
Thank you. In the room? See no hands? Anybody else on Zoom? See no hands? The business, including but not limited to board response public comment. Hearing nothing?
I wish Ms. Kavanaugh was here still. Just wondering, I wanted to thank her for what she did and also just for explaining where all these flags go, because I was always wondering that, how they are managed. And I was wondering how many years on average it takes a flag, flag will last, because it seems like we spend like $2,000 a year on
We replace
flags.
about half of them every year.
Every year,
So-
about half.
Yes, so there's like a rotating. This year, the
Jen's
ones
been
we
working with
order,
them
the
directly
ones we
on that.
order this year will last us the next 2 years or so.
Right.
And next year we'll order several, about half, and then those will last for a couple more years and that.
All right. So $2,000, how many flags is that?
Oh, I don't know off the top of my head, but, I can tell you because I'm the one that placed the last order, so, I mean, I know, I just don't know.
It
Off the
just
top
seemed like $1,000 every year. I was wondering. how
You'd be
long these
surprised how
last.
flags are expensive, like wickedly expensive.
Yeah. All right, thank you. The other thing I'd like to say is, I know I'm distracted, and I think other people in the audience are distracted by the constant heckling and comments from particularly one person in the audience. And I wish there was more self-control observed and respect for everyone in the room. That would be appreciated.
Anybody else? No need for executive session. Can I get a motion that the vouchers be audited, the meeting be adjourned at 8:08 p.m. Trustee Fandesa.
Second.
Trustee Raymond, discussion. I was waiting for you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. See you in July, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.